Hello everyone. Today I want to talk about Once Upon a Time in China, Part 2, which was released in 1992, starring Jet Li. And how do you describe Jet Li? Well, one way to describe him is graceful. And this is the description used by Yinhua Ping, who was the fight director on this film. And there is a supplement, a master class from 2019 filmed in New York City, in which he is asked what's the difference between Jackie Chan, Donnie Yen, two huge martial arts stars that Yinhua Ping had worked with, and what's the difference with Jet Li? And the word he uses is gracefulness. And I got a comment on my Once Upon a Time in China video that I published a few days ago from Francois, who compared these films and martial arts films to Hollywood musicals, especially the Hollywood musicals of the 30s, and especially to Fred Astaire, Gene Kelly, where you would have sort of a lightweight story and that, you know, provides some comedy, but then what you really are there to see is the dancers. And certainly Fred Astaire has often been termed as graceful, his style of dancing, whereas Gene Kelly was more an athletic type dancer. And so Jet Li really combines the two together because he has that incredible athleticism that Gene Kelly exhibited in his dancing, as well as Fred Astaire's the sheer beauty of movement, gracefulness of movement. And Yinhua Ping also talks about how Jet Li was, in comparison, Jet Li was a huge star in the martial arts world, not in movies, but in the mainland China. He was a 5-time champion. He had started as a teenager. He's only in his late 20s, I think, in the Once Upon a Time in China Part 2. So there was no real teaching that was required. Jet Li really pretty much had it down. Tsui Hark, the director of Once Upon a Time in China, could concentrate on the acting and melding all the performances into the fantastic fight scenes in Part 2. And of course, live musicals considered the storylines were very lightweight, and at least part of the Once Upon a Time in China has a lightweight kind of story. Rosamund Kwan is back playing the 13th aunt in a kind of cutesy romance where they're attracted to each other. They resist it. They run away from their attraction. And then the comic relief from Part 1 was supplied by Bucktooth Zoe and Porky Wing. They're not here for the comic relief, and they're replaced by Su Chung Muk, who plays a character called Foong, who is a disciple both in the martial arts and in the medicine, because Wong Fei Hung, the character that Jet Li, as a historical character, was both a martial artist and a medicine man. So he provides some pretty good comic relief all by himself. And unlike Hollywood musical comedies, there is a real historical element to these films. They're not history lessons, and they sort of exaggerate things, but certainly when we are introduced to Dr. Sun Yat-sen, a famous historical figure in Chinese history, and if you're in the U.S. and you have a world history course in high school, you're going to learn about Dr. Sun Yat-sen very favorably because he was a humanist, he was a medicine man, a medical doctor, and he was a Christian. But he's on the run in this film. We see him in the beginning, and he's introduced to Wong Fei Hung, the Jet Li character, at a sort of a medical symposium where Wong Fei Hung gets up to demonstrate acupuncture to a Western audience that is just marvel at this technique, which they were unacquainted with in its effectiveness. And so they develop a friendship, Sun Yat-sen and Wong Fei Hung. But again, Sun Yat-sen's on the run, so he has to take refuge, and he takes refuge at the British Embassy. And whereas in the original Once Upon a Time in China, the foreigners were portrayed as greedy capitalists there to exploit, here the British Embassy sort of is standing for kind of humanist Christian values, and so Sun Yat-sen is able to find refuge there with some of his aides, but he has to be surreptitiously taken out of the country, which Wang Fei-hung helps him do. They are fellow doctors, and there's one of the sidelights of their relationship is Wang Fei-hung and Fun's introduction to the idea of a watch and the idea of time and the idea of adhering closely to a timetable and time as, this kind of adherence to time, this almost devotion to time and keeping time, largely a Western idea. So they get some humor out of trying to learn how to read a watch. And the other element, the historical element that comes into play here, is the White Lotus movement. And this is goes back centuries. I don't know a whole lot about it, but the way it's portrayed in part 2 is as an ultra-nationalist group, kind of a secret society, worshiping gods, seeing them kind of metaphysical element to it, that they're indestructible. They want to rid China of all foreign taint, and even Chinese that have adopted certain foreign dress or custom. And so we get and they, of course, everybody in the group worships and is proficient in martial arts, including their leader. So we get, as in part 1, we get a whole lot of mayhem, and where groups are fighting groups everywhere you look. But then we get 2 man-on-man fights with Jet Li and the head of the White Lotus, which is spectacular. I mean, just spectacular. But then we also, at the end, as well as in part 1, the local authorities are kind of shady figures. They all know martial arts too, especially their leader. Their leader, played by Donnie Yen, another legendary figure in martial arts movies. So we get the final battle is between Jet Li and Donnie Yen, which is what everybody is waiting for to see. And there's a really good interview with him on the supplements here, when he talks about how he had to really amp up. Sometimes he could just walk through, some of his roles, but and do the same old. But here he said, fighting Jet Li and working with Dien Xiaoping, he knew that they were going to have to come up with some really creative ideas. And Donnie Yen mentions the rope that he uses. He picks up like a piece of cloth and he like twists it around and he makes it into a weapon. And it's a very very exciting part of the battle with Jet Li, and how dangerous some of these stunts were. Jet Li, unlike Jackie Chan, Jet Li used a double often in some of the most dangerous stunts, and because one of the reasons being they couldn't allow him to get hurt. In the original Once Upon a Time in China, he actually broke his leg. There's a scene where they actually showed in the supplements. There's a scene where he kicks in the ladder fight. He kicks one of the rungs and breaks one of the rungs of the ladder, and he actually broke his leg as well. So they had to really work hard at integrating the double into, because Jet Li wasn't able to do any of the stunts anymore. But it's nevertheless, this is just an awesome, awesome showdown. And another supplement that's pretty interesting in this film is the legend of Wang Fei-hung, and this is the historical. Who is he really? And I think a lot by the time we finish part 2, you really want to know, who is this guy really like? What was he really like? And of course, these films are made for entertainment, and they play fast and loose with what these fights could be like, and what Wang Fei-hung actually did. But he was a very much a champion of the underdog. Of course, he was a doctor, and and so this is a really interesting supplement on disc 2, Once Upon a Time in China, part 2. Really entertaining, colorful movie. I've really gotten to love Jet Li. He really has a whole lot of charisma in these films. Okay, so thanks a lot for everybody who managed to listen to me this far. I really do appreciate it. Hopefully I said something interesting. Your comments are very welcome. You guys take care.